I'm Ezra Levant. It's May 28th and you're watching Battleground. Hello and welcome to Battleground. It is a feature we have had at The Rebel for about a month now. Every day between 12 noon and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I come to you live on a feature that YouTube has created called Super Chat, which allows me to talk to you, the comments on the right side of the screen. And the Super Chat aspect is for folks who want their comment to be pinned. You can chip in a couple of bucks or a couple of pounds or a couple of Swedish kroner, and it'll be up there for a period of time. That money goes to The Rebel to help pay our costs. We've had a lot of fun on this noontime show for the past month. I look at it as a lighthearted way to deal with news that doesn't quite fit into my evening show at 8 p.m. A lot of laughs last week. We got into some silly subjects, but today is a grave day. I don't feel humorous at all, and we have only one subject we're going to cover, and that is the shocking and drumhead conviction and sentencing of our old friend Tommy Robinson. A drumhead trial is a term for a trial that happens so quickly that it does not have proper procedure. It is the type of trial that is sometimes done in a battlefield. It is the type of trial that, if done in a third world country, is called a kangaroo court or a sham trial or a sham court. I'll show you some video. We'll take the time, we'll take the whole hour today about this. But for those of you who don't know, and for those of you in the United Kingdom who are subject to a publication ban, let me give you a recap of the facts. As you know, Tommy specializes in the subject that so many people in the West want to talk about, but that so few official people want to talk about, and that is the Islamification of society. And in particular, Tommy focuses on a horrific phenomenon in the United Kingdom, that is industrial scale rape gangs. And typically Tommy goes to court to confront the accused rapists, to show their names, to ask them questions, and he's almost always alone. These cases are horrific and horrendous. The case in question on Friday was in Leeds, UK. There were 29 people on trial, 27 of them were men, 2 women who were involved as well, who were accused of raping more than a dozen girls aged 11 to 17. Think about it, they raped an 11-year-old girl, but understand what a rape gang is. This isn't hiding in the bushes and then jumping out, grabbing a girl, raping her, and then running off. This is a rape gang that raped these women, allegedly, over a systematic, extended period of time again and again. They tricked them, trapped them, extorted them, exploited them, groomed them is the phrase. I hate using the word groom because it sounds like something, you know, he's got good grooming, he has a good haircut, and he's well dressed. That is not, I don't want to use that word because it is the opposite. It's tricking and trapping and extorting. Typically, a man will encounter a 12 or 13-year-old girl either online or, let's say, on the street, and ingratiate themselves. Here's some free candy. Seriously, these girls are so young, candy is often what's in question. For older girls, it might be a cigarette or alcohol. And they give these trinkets to these girls, and they woo them and say, do you want a grown-up boyfriend? You deserve a boyfriend. Don't listen to your... So they trick these girls of tender years, and then maybe they get a kiss, or maybe they say, send me a topless selfie. I'm just telling you. And these are not examples I'm making up out of the blue. These are examples from the Rotherham Report and other reports. And when a girl compromises herself a little bit, let's say sends a topless, sexed a selfie, then the trap is sprung. Oh, if you don't sleep with me now, I will send this picture to your mother and let her know that you've been drinking and consorting and sending naked pictures, so you must now sleep with me, or I'm extorting you because I'll embarrass your mother. Oh, you've slept with me. Now you have to sleep with all my friends who will rape you. And they're all in this together. It's collusion. It's not, I mean, rape is a horrific crime, but typically in the West, it's a solitary crime, a sneaking crime in a dark alley. But here it's the opposite. It is gangs who work with each other. And these girls are trapped. And sometimes they do go to police, go to their parents. But as we've learned so often, police, social workers, frontline healthcare workers refuse to act because they're worried about being called racist. There are cases documented I just read one the other day in the Times of London that actually a police officer and 2 politicians in Rotherham, when it was brought to their attention a rape gang, they joined the rape gang, because here were these helpless girls who were being victimized, who were trapped, who were being extorted. The cop and the 2 politicians joined the rape gang. In other instances, when a mother or father would drag the girl to the police station and say she's been raped, she's been drugged, the police would say to the parent, "You shut up now, or we will charge you with neglect." Sometimes when brothers or fathers would go to these houses where the mass rapes would happen, they were charged by police with causing a disturbance or breach of the peace. So I just wanted to give you for 5 minutes what this is that Tommy's protesting. It's not the odd random rape. It's a systematic rape on an industrial scale. The city of Rotherham alone, it's just a city of 250,000 people, but more than 1,400 girls were raped. 1,400 girls out of a city of 250,000 people, so there's 125,000 females in that city, and I don't know, what, 50,000 of them are within a certain age. If you have raped 1,400 girls in a city of 250,000, that is almost every single family that has been touched. And that went on for a decade. And the case that Tommy was reporting outside the courthouse in Leeds about went on for nearly a decade as well. And what did Tommy do? I see there's a super chat comment. I'll come to that in a moment. And what did Tommy do? Well, he was very careful because, as you know, Tommy used to work for us at the Rebel, and almost exactly a year ago, he was reporting outside a rape case in Canterbury. And he made the mistake of stepping onto the property of the courthouse, and he made the mistake of doing a video selfie, you know, on Periscope when he was still on Twitter. 45 seconds, that's all it was. He only showed himself. He didn't show any accused. He didn't show any jurors. He did make the one mistake of saying a rapist instead of an accused rapist. Tommy, his home was raided at 4 a.m. Do we have the video of that? The 4 a.m. arrest raid? So Tommy did a 45-second, I'm talking about last year's case, I'll come to this year's case soon. For a 45-second video selfie that neither compromised any suspect or any juror, Tommy had his house raided, SWAT team style, at 4 a.m. I just want to show you a little bit of the footage. Tommy always had his wits about him, and when they came to his home at 4 a.m., he turned on his cell phone. Take a look at this for a second.
0432, and the police are at my house. And I'm being arrested for going to a court case in Canterbury and trying to video the Muslim paedophiles.
Obviously your camera's on, that's fine. You're arrested on suspicion of content of court on the 8th of the 5th, 2017 at Canterbury Court.
That's footage from a year ago when police raided his house. Why would they raid his house at 4 a.m.? They could have phoned him. They know him, they know his number, they know where he lives, they know his lawyers. Tommy has been in and out of contact with the law, let's put it that way, for a decade. But they chose to raid his house at 4 a.m. to make a point, shock and awe, to disrupt and destabilize him, and to send a message to his family, to stress out his family, his beautiful wife and his 3 beautiful kids. Tommy doesn't hide. Tommy doesn't run. Why didn't they come at 9 a.m.? Why didn't they come when the kids were at school? Why did they come at 4 a.m.? Because it is political, it is punitive. And I say again, that is the hallmark, not of a free country like the United Kingdom, that is the hallmark of an unfree country, of a police state. I see there's some super chat comments, one from someone named A Legit Babyface and one from someone named Nerdy Dove. I will come back to those comments. I will make a note of them and I will get back to you. Thank you for your support. They came to his house to make a point that they can do things to him anytime, in any manner, and if he thinks the rule of law, if he thinks he will be given all the benefits of the doubt, like Muslim rape gangs are, he will not be. He was taken to Canterbury Court. When he worked for the Rebel, I had the authority to act as his employer, and we immediately dispatched outstanding lawyers. We took half a day to track him down. We finally found out where he was in, what jail he was in. We sent lawyers up to Canterbury. We got him out that night. He was home that night to his family, and we later had a proper trial, but it was on a knife's edge. It was on a knife's edge. Do we have the transcript from the court a year ago? And I sent that to you this morning. It was an excerpt from the court. We'll find it. I'll paraphrase it to you now, but I'll show it to you when my producer finds it. The judge in Canterbury a year ago said, it's on a knife's edge, do I throw you in prison? And I know you'll be at extreme risk in prison, but a large part of me doesn't care. You think I'm making that up, I'm going to quote you the exact quote from the judge when we call up that transcript. So he managed to get what's called a suspended sentence. The judge says, 3 months in prison, but I'm not going to pull the trigger on that now, but it's going to hang over you for 18 months. So that's the backstory. A year ago, Tommy was in Canterbury. He was reporting outside a rape gang trial there. He, against the rules, videoed himself for 45 seconds, and he said rapist instead of a late rapist. Those two things, a 3-month prison term, now it was suspended, but still, a 3-month prison term. And for standing on the precincts of the court. I ask you, have you ever seen any media report from a courthouse? Yes, of course. Media always report from a courthouse when there's something involving law and order. Do they stand on the courthouse property? Of course they do, because it's a beautiful shot from a TV news point of view, having the majestic court in the background. Every single journalist in the history of the West stands in front of the court when they're doing a courthouse journalistic piece. But only Tommy was said, because you were physically standing on the sidewalk in front of a courthouse, that's against the law. So I tell you all that by way of background, because on Friday, and again, Tommy hasn't worked for us for a couple months. It's been an amicable goodbye, but he's been independent, and God bless him. So I saw on my Facebook feed that Tommy was going live outside the courthouse in Leeds, UK, and I thought, oof. And it always makes me a little nervous, because I lived through that experience with Tommy a year ago. And I thought, well, geez, I hope he's just remembering our rules, because whenever Tommy would go to court, we would say, all right, remember, say accused and alleged until they're convicted. Don't violate a publication ban, and don't stand on court property. Every other journalist stands on court property, but again, there's no fairness, there's no rule of law when it comes to the UK and Tommy Robertson. So those were our rules for Tommy. So I got a little nervous when I saw Tommy was at court in Leeds, and but I'm curious, and I think Tommy's got a lot of courage. So I watched him, and he was exceedingly careful. Every time he said alleged or accused, I was watching that, and I thought, okay, good. And you could see, and he was doing the Facebook Live for a full hour. And he was very careful to stand on the street or on the sidewalk. And there was one moment in the hour where he asked some official, can I stand here? Oh, yes, I can. So those two things, very, very careful. I understand that there was no jury, so no one could have been affected. It was the final day of the whole trial. It was the verdict day. There was no more trial to come. And finally, when he read the names of the accused, he was reading them from a news site. If I understand where he was reading them from, because I later found this, he was reading from the BBC. Do we have that BBC page? Let's put it up here for a second. So right now I'm showing you can see on the right-hand side, it says BBC. You see those names? Irfan Ahmed, Nazarat Hussain, Zubair Ahmed, Mohammed Rizwan Aslam, Mohammed Kamar. There's a lot of Mohammeds there. You see that? Zahid, Hassan, Mohammed, Azim. What's about? There's a whole bunch of Mohammeds. There's got to be 8 Mohammeds there. So do you see that this list here? This is not from the Rebel website. That little logo on the bottom right, we just put that on screen. This is from the BBC website, and you can see the 2 women at the bottom, the Muslim women who were involved with it. So do you see that this is on the BBC's website right now? So the BBC, the state broadcaster of the United Kingdom, was publishing those names, and Tommy was literally reading those names from the BBC website. So what had Tommy done wrong? Did he call accused criminals criminals? So did he already assert that they were guilty? No, he did not. I watched him. He said alleged or accused. Okay, check. Was he on the precincts of the court itself? No, he was not. You could see that he was not. Did he in some way jeopardize an ongoing trial? No, it was the last day. In fact, they were coming to court with their prison bags. In case I see there's more comments there, Nerdy Dove, and I see there's a comment there from Steam Machine. I promise that I will come back to your comments later in the broadcast. It's 12:14. I want to get some facts out first, but I will come back to the Super Chat comments. Did Tommy break a publication ban by saying the names of the accused? No. Well, he was reading the state broadcaster. He was reading from the website of a state broadcaster that was publishing their names for the world to see. Our producers tell me they have, before I move on, I want to show you what the judge in Canterbury said, all right? So this is from the transcript in the court. This is the judge talking to the QC that we hired for Tommy. He was an outstanding QC, by the way. Let me read it. Kovalevsky was his name. I accept what Mr. Kovalevsky tells me about the dangers that you might face were you to be sent into immediate custody. I have to say, it is on a knife edge, so far as I'm concerned, because a very large part of me thinks, so what? You could be put into protective custody. Do you understand the importance of what I just read to you? You can find that transcript online, by the way. That's from the court in Canterbury from a year ago. Kovalevsky said, Your Honor, he's just, and by the way, if you read the whole transcript, you'll be reminded that Tommy Robinson got approval in Luton to stand on the steps of the court. And he showed the judge that. He said, Judge, I thought I could stand on the steps of the court. So I was told I could in Luton. So Tommy thought he was kosher. And by the way, every other journalist does it. So for that trifle, 45-second video selfie, and I acknowledge he should have said accused criminal instead of criminal. You send a guy to prison for 3 months for that? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Not in a country with the rule of law, where no matter how high or how low you are, you're treated in the same way. No, no, no. And did you see the judge's cavalier nature? Put that transcript up for one more second, please. You see that? So Mr. Kovalevsky said, hey, Judge, you put this guy in jail, you're going to get him killed. Because prisons in the UK, they're halal prisons. They're run by the Muslim gangs, really. And you're in jail already? You're a Muslim prisoner, you're in jail already for murder, for terrorism. You don't think that's just an extra 72 virgins for you to knock off Tommy? So the judge says, well, you know what? So what? So what? Really? So you're going to sentence a man to death for taking a 45-second video selfie that did not identify any juror or any accused? Well, yeah, that's the law for Tommy Robinson in the UK. You know, I grew up here in Canada. We're part of the Commonwealth. Queen Elizabeth is our queen. She's on our currency, our stamps, our passport. And you have this dream in your mind, oh, I know what the UK is like. It's the land of Magna Carta, Shakespeare, Winston Churchill. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. So I showed you the raid on Tommy's home last year. I showed you the judge saying, well, I was going to throw you in jail, but not this time. 3 months suspended sentence. So here we are. We're 12 months into the 18-month period. So understand, the prison term that judge a year ago gave is a 3-month prison term. Did you get that? But she suspended it. She said, I will not make you serve those 3 months if you're of good behavior. So it's like a dagger over your head, hanging by a string for 18 months. After 18 months, the dagger goes away. But we're only 12 months into that dagger. You understand that? So comes Friday. Tommy's outside the courthouse in Leeds. I got to tell you, I won't lie. I was nervous for Tommy. I thought, geez, what are you doing there, man? What are you doing there? Well, you don't tell Tommy no. I mean, my last meeting with Tommy a couple months ago when we said goodbye, I said, Tommy Robinson's not built for any boss, is he? You didn't need to hear that from me. You know that. Tommy Robinson, he told me he never had a boss before in his life. Oh, believe me, I could tell. And you can't put lightning in a bottle. That's Tommy Robinson. So he went on his own, and I thought, oh my God, Tommy, no, be careful, because there's two ways Tommy Robinson's going to end. One is, God forbid, he'll be attacked physically by an Islamic extremist. The other is, God forbid, he'll be seized and thrown in prison to be killed by an Islamic extremist. And so let me show you what happened, and I'm sure you've seen this video before, but if you are in the United Kingdom, then maybe you have not seen this video before. Here's a video of Tommy. And again, he was doing a 1-hour live stream on Facebook. He was only there with a couple friends, George, his cameraman, and there was a lady there as well. And let me show you from out of nowhere. Tommy was alone on the street. 7 cops. I counted. You count them with me. 7 cops took Tommy and put him in the back of a police van. Take a look.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach.
Are you arresting him?
Being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your live feed?
Can you get me a solicitor?
Just turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah?
Do you understand what I've just said?
No, can you explain it again?
Arrest on suspicion causing a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean, officer? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I've been told that under the plea, the case.
Not at all, he never said that.
George, that's the information I've
That's
got.
only
I'm inciting people.
Well, you know,
I'm inciting
through his
people.
video and
How have I
and watch
incited
it. He
people?
hasn't.
This is free speech. This is where we're at. You're not even allowed to. Look at this.
Look how many people.
Man, what are you trying to hide? Do you know when you do this?
These are normal working men.
More people.
You only sharp things or lighters or anything.
Just let him do this.
More people are going to watch this now than ever. This is ridiculous, lads. Do you feel right what you're doing here? I haven't said a word. In fact, someone laid their hand and assaulted me outside court.
Yeah, exactly.
Other people swore at me and threatened me about my mother, and here I am being arrested for saying nothing.
I'm threatened to behead
I've done
me.
nothing.
You never said anything about
What are you arresting you for, Tommy?
Breach of the peace. Apparently, I'm inciting on my video. Can you please, George, get me a solicitor?
Yeah.
Because I'm on a suspended sentence, you see. So
He has actually done nothing wrong.
You can sort anything like that.
Excellent questions. What did I do wrong? What does it mean? How am I possibly disturbing the peace? How on earth was he disturbing the peace? If you looked at his hour-long video, as I did, he was by himself on the street disturbing the peace, public. So there was no public there. There was no peace being disturbed. It was Tommy speaking at a pretty quiet, probably this volume. Like, it wasn't shutting. He was talking to his phone for an hour. I want to read a few quick super chats that came in before time goes by. Just a reminder what a super chat is. You chip in a couple bucks, it makes your comment on Twitter bright colored, and we get the dough to help pay our bills here. And I try and make a point of reading all those, so thanks. I see Nerdy Dub says, do you think this is where Canada is heading without a major change? Yes, absolutely. We see this already in the city of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Police have stopped referring to the ethnicity of Muslim taxi drivers. There's been a string of Muslim taxi drivers sexually assaulting Canadian girls in Halifax. And at first, I mean, they're all Muslim. I'm sorry, they are. And at first, police would describe them, but now they don't. They just say someone with an accent. What does that mean? Is it a French accent, an Italian accent, a Yiddish accent? You know, is it saying someone has an accent does not identify them, does it? Is it an Irish accent? Is it a German accent? Is it an accent from the deep south? Hi there, little thing, you want to ride? Is it that accent? Is it Texas accent? Purty little thing? Is that the accent? So yeah, police are already self-censoring in Canada. In Toronto, Kevin J. Johnston is being prosecuted under a hate crime for some video he did. I mean, I myself have been taken to court by the Human Rights Commission, taken to their Human Rights Court for publishing those Danish cartoons of Mohammed a dozen years ago. That's my answer to you. Someone named A Legit Babyface says, this is why I'm thankful to live in the U.S. Shite like this will never hopefully happen. Godspeed for Tommy, free Tommy Robinson. Well, you're right. You've got the First Amendment. I think that is the most important amendment. It's the one that defends all the others. I heard someone say, take away all my rights except for freedom of speech, and with that I will win back my other rights. And that's why they go for freedom of speech first. And they're doing it in the UK, and they're doing it here in Canada. Hang on to your First Amendment, and don't you think for a second that what you saw there about Tommy Robinson wouldn't be done to Alex Jones, Gavin McInnes, Bill O'Reilly, Bill Hannity, Sean Hannity, excuse me. You don't think Rush Limbaugh would be picked up for hate speech? You don't think any right-wing American would be picked up the way Tommy was? Without your First Amendment, you don't think Americans would want to do that? You don't. Well, we know that. We know that. Hannah, can you find the picture of Nakula, Basili Nakula? You know who I'm talking about, folks? Remember on September 11th, 2012, the anniversary of 9/11, a month and a half before the Barack Obama's 2012 presidential campaign, there was a terrorist attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. And it was Al-Qaeda. And that was inconvenient because Barack Obama had said, oh, we took care of Al-Qaeda. Hillary Clinton said we took care of Al-Qaeda. So what did they do? They blamed it on some YouTube video. What, these were film critics? Angry at some, but they did. They blamed it on some YouTube video from someone in California. And the media ran with it. Now that's a lie, and politicians lie, and what are you going to do? They're liars. Just a picture of Basili Nakula being jailed. So there was a filmmaker, I think he was Egyptian, who made this film. He's an anti-Muslim dissident who came from a Muslim country. We'll put the picture up when we see. He was arrested in the United States on some trumped-up charge. Hillary Clinton needed a scapegoat for Benghazi. Barack Obama, Susan Rice needed a scapegoat for Benghazi. That was not Al-Qaeda. They just needed to be able to weather the storm for 6 weeks. Show it on the screen now. That's him. Producer of anti-Islam film, arrested, ordered, held without bail. Basli Nakula is led out of his Cerritos, California home by Los Angeles County Sheriff's officers on September 15th. So do you understand what this is? September 12th, the Benghazi riots. September 11th, sorry, the anniversary of 9/11. 4 days later, here's the scapegoat. A filmmaker in California thrown in jail in the United States of America. So yeah, that was your Tommy Robinson moment, friends. Okay, let me get back to things. I see there's some more super chats. I don't want to miss them because I appreciate you guys chipping in. Steam Machine says, donate to Tommy. Google Tommy Robinson online. Email Sajid Javid here. Absolutely, Tommy needs our help. And I'll have some news later today about what we can do and what we can't do. Achilles 707 says, slight correction, protect the First Amendment with the Second Amendment. Yeah, you're right. But look at the Second Amendment. Look at how it's under attack in the United States right now. And how is the Second Amendment being defended? The First Amendment. I guess the first and the second go hand in hand. But that's another point. That's another point. Do you think the police would have been so confident to scoop up a law-abiding protester like Tommy Robinson if the British citizenry were armed? Do you think they would be so casual and cavalier? Do you think British men would be walked over so easily by these rape gangs if they were armed? And I tell you again, when British men in Rotherham went to the homes where their sisters and daughters were being raped, the police arrested those British men. If you had an armed citizenry in the United Kingdom, I put it to you, these rape gangs would not exist. Boomykins says, do you think Britain has any chance of coming back? Will it ever be great again, or is it already dead? Well, as Pope John Paul II would say, where there's life, there's hope. Things looked awfully bad in the Soviet Union, didn't they? Until one day they didn't, until people rose up. The flame of liberty was not quite extinguished. Where there was life, there was hope. I think things are quite bad in the United Kingdom. I really hadn't been there. I've been there once or twice in my life as a tourist until I met Tommy, and then I would visit him every month or so. And I would always come back shocked at what I had seen. Shocked. I don't know if I told you the story. I think I told the story the other day. When I went to Sunderland with Tommy Robinson to meet Chelsea Wright, the young girl who was brutally assaulted by a predator, the police sent a vehicle with closed-circuit TVs to check up on our meeting. Who's this guy from Canada who flew in to meet with the Wright family and Tommy? I'd never seen that before. That really is police state stuff. It's police state stuff. I mean, you heard the stories about the UK keeping out Lauren Southern and Brittany Pettibone and Martin Sellner. These are not violent people at all. You know, and the letters for these people where they are right-wing. Well, it's not against the law to be right-wing. That's what a political dictatorship says. I believe in the right of a country to keep out anyone they choose for reasons of sovereignty, but that's not appropriate. The United Kingdom is not a political state where they may measure, a police state where they measure your politics before asking if you're allowed in. Very troubling. Let me remind you what we're doing here. It's 12:28. We're halfway done every day between 12 noon and 1 p.m. Eastern time. I hop on the show. It's normally lighthearted banter. I show silly things that are too silly or trivial to make my 8 p.m. show. I play some clips. I have some banter. I take some of the comments on the side here. But it's not funny today. I am not amused. So on Friday, I contacted the family. I spoke with two family members of Tommy Robinson, and I spoke with Tommy's lawyer. And obviously you can understand I want to keep those conversations private. I've had a number of exchanges with the family and the lawyer over the weekend, and including this morning. I do not want to reveal those because out of respect for the family and the process, I don't want to meddle. Tommy has again, I'm not Tommy's boss anymore. A year ago I was. The minute I saw him arrested, I felt I had the authority to act on his behalf. And so we hired some of the top lawyers in the UK. We crowdfunded the legal fund for it, and we got Tommy out 13 hours later. He didn't even spend a night in jail. We had a proper hearing a week or two later. We kept Tommy out. You saw that outrageous ruling, though. The judge said she was toying with putting him back in jail. But I don't have that authority now, do I? I'm Tommy's ex-employer. And Tommy's incommunicado. He's in prison. He went straight from the courthouse steps to prison in a matter of hours. I haven't spoken with him. His family had trouble getting in touch with him. His lawyer, imagine that. That in Leeds, the judge summarily took Tommy, had a drumhead hearing, instant, gave him a lawyer who didn't know him, didn't know his history, was not an expert in contempt of court law. It is a very obscure area of law, let me tell you. We hired an expert. It's very rare. No one does contempt of court law as a mainstay. It's so rare. And they just hire some public defender. They give him to Tommy. It's not even a fair trial. They didn't even wait for his lawyer to land. She was in an airplane, I understand, at that moment. But here's the icing on the cake. The judge put his conviction of Tommy under a publication ban. Well, I'm sorry, the Star Chamber, that was abolished centuries ago. You know what I'm talking about? The Star Chamber, secret trials. There are no secret trials in the UK. There are, on occasion, momentary prohibitions on publication if there's some extremely sensitive reason, if there are young people involved, the identities of certain people are involved. But Tommy is not a young person. Tommy's matter is concluded. Why would Tommy's treatment and his 13-month sentence, 13 months, why is that covered by a publication ban in the UK? And a related question, where's the BBC? Where's Channel 4? Where's the Daily Mail? Where's the Times of London? Where's the Telegraph? Why aren't they going to court to have this lifted? Where's Reporters Without Borders? Where's Amnesty International? I'm sorry, tell me how Tommy Robinson is not a political prisoner, reporting on a rape gang. And I told you the facts I saw. He said alleged and accused. He did not say they were convicted. He did not step on the courthouse precincts whatsoever. He only read the names from a government website. It was the last day of the trial. It was, in fact, the day of the verdict. What possible reason was he convicted and sentenced to 13 months in prison? What possible reason was there? Well, we actually don't quite know, do we? I mean, I've heard things secondhand. But it is against the law to even inquire. It's against the law even to publish things. So all these UK websites, these news sites published the news about Tommy's arrest and sentencing, and then they took him down. They took him down because of this court order. I have some news about that. I'm not quite ready to give it. I'll send it out by email later today. Maybe I'll even hop on for a brief moment on Google Live, but we will have some news. Let me hint at it. You may know that the Rebel is based here in Toronto, Canada, but you may not know that we also have an affiliate called Rebel News Network UK Limited that is a British company with British operations and British customers. And I'll have some news later on today about the publication ban. I'm just not ready to tell you right now. It's 12:32 p.m. We have some ads, but I don't want to run them. I want to take some comments. Andres Tesfaye says, Ezra, you're amazing. I love everything you do. Well, thanks, Andreas. I wish I could do more here, though. I have to say, when I saw Tommy look at the camera and say, George, get a solicitor, I thought, oh, I want to. Because we've got these three lawyers we used last time. Adam King was the contempt of court expert. Jonathan Grimes, the criminal law expert from Kingsley Napoli. And Mr. Kovalevsky, top-notch QC. That's a bit of a dream team. I think Tommy's case needs an O.J. Simpson-style dream team. I mean, if not now, when? I mean, if Tommy's case is not of national importance enough, when are you ever going to hire a dream team? And we threw three lawyers at it last time because I thought, do we need three lawyers? Probably not. Am I going to save £10,000 and risk Tommy going to prison? No way. So my instinct is, but I'm not the decider, am I? I'm a meddler now. I'm a friend and a fan, but I have no authority. I have no instructions from Tommy. He's in jail. I have the family. They know me. I've met the missus and the fam a few times in the UK, but I have no authority to act. And Tommy's not with the Rebel anymore. We left on good terms, but he's not with us. And he has a lawyer who is instructed by him, or was. I can't take the place. So I offered our help to crowdfund again, and they said, well, let's talk to Tommy. Hold off. I love crowdfunding. That's how we run the Rebel. This is sort of a form of crowdfunding right now, what we're doing on Super Chat. We've crowdfunded for Tommy before. We crowdfunded for some of Tommy's allies. Say Fletcher, also in Sunderland, the dinner lady. up north. Justice for Nikki, the woman who was beat up. Chris Eade helped Chris, the Navy officer who helped Knox. Remember that? Knox, who needed a wheelchair. We did a lot of, that's what we do. We crowdfund. I said to the family, let me crowdfund the land. They said, wait. Don't do any crowdfunding. We got to talk with Tommy. We've got to make sure this. So I'm not meddling. I'll talk to you more tonight about the court gag order, though. Let me read another super chat. If something happens, this is from Nerdy Dove. If something happens to Tommy in jail, I believe there will be an uprising. Things are teetering on the edge. They're making a martyr out of him. Well, yeah, that is sort of part of what's it called? The Streisand effect, isn't it? Remember the case of Barbara Streisand didn't want a photograph of her Santa Monica property being put online, her Malibu property. And no one was looking at that picture. It was just an obscure picture online, like maybe 10 people had watched it. But she went to court to have that taken down. And because of that, tens of thousands of people saw her property. That's the Streisand effect. Sometimes when you try and attack something, you give it much more attention than it would have. I think that had Tommy not been arrested by those 7 cops on Friday, 100,000 people would have seen Tommy's report through Facebook. But because of what they did to Tommy, and the shocking speed of it, I'm sorry, to take someone from detention, arrest, to prosecution, hearing, conviction, sentence, in prison, in what was that, 4 hours? Isn't that what they called what was the word in Spanish, the desperacidos or something in Chile or some of those Latin American banana republics where they would swoop in, police state style, and they would be disappeared. I got to say, I'm not going to call the UK a police state, but I tell you one thing, it's a surveillance state. I'll tell you another thing, they're losing their civil liberties. And I'll tell you a third thing you don't need me to tell you, to take a man from political protest journalist to prison in a couple of hours without his lawyer there and put a gag order, a secret gag order. Sorry, that's not normal. That's not normal. And the Brits are being kept in the dark because of the gag order. And CNN, I haven't checked in the last few minutes, CNN has ignored it. Fox News did a story on it. And look at this, look at Drudge. Drudge is always ahead of things. This is the Drudge Report yesterday. I don't know if it's still the lead item on the Drudge Report. Drudge Report, biggest news, one of the biggest news sites in America. Anti-immigration protester jailed in London. Judge orders press blackout. Robinson silenced. So this is the under news, the dissident news. I haven't seen anything in the mainstream news. I have, granted, I have had my head down for a couple hours, so maybe something's happened in the meantime. And what I think is most hopeful, look at this tweet by Donald Trump Jr. So this was, as you can see, this was yesterday morning. Donald Trump Jr., he was retweeting Kurt Schlichter, who works with our team. Kurt Schlichter was saying, man arrested and imprisoned in England for reporting on a court case. Reporting on his case is also illegal. Just crazy. And then Donald Trump Jr. retweets that and adds, reason 1776 for the original Brexit. Don't let America follow in these footsteps. Donald Trump, he's good with the Twitters. 1776, obviously a reference to the revolution and the original Brexit. I think it's fair to say that the Trumps are Anglophiles. I think it's a fact. Sadiq Khan may not feel that way in return, but I think a lot of Brits do. They used to call it the special relationship, didn't they? Excuse me. I'm hopeful if it's on the radar of Donald Trump Jr., maybe, wouldn't it be something if the president himself tweeted, retweeted, just did something. I think that would light a fire, and it would frankly show up the cowardice of British politicians. And here's the thing: who's standing up for Tommy Robinson in the UK? There is one member of the European Parliament, a UKIP fellow. Hannah, do you remember his name? There's this one MEP who's been really chummy with Tommy, and Geert Wilders gave a short speech outside the British Embassy in Holland. But where is a single Conservative member of Parliament in the United Kingdom? Where's anyone? I mean, yeah, sure, some of them are gagged, but where are the politicians? Where are they fighting for Tommy? And surely they must know that if they come for Tommy today, they'll come for them tomorrow. You don't have to agree with everything Tommy says to agree with his right to say it. You can disagree with everything Tommy says and disagree with his personal conduct. I think the accusations against Tommy are always exaggerated. The time I spent with him, every single preconception about Tommy you see in the media is false. You know, I don't want to get into the personal people around Tommy because you say their name and then they get Antifa or Muslim extremists come in their door. But let me put it this way. The very first day I met Tommy last year, I flew into London. This was right after the terrorist attack on Westminster Bridge. Who's this guy with Tommy? Tommy's here. Okay, I was having a meeting with Tommy. Who'd Tommy bring with him? His longest standing friend since grade school, who happens to be a black man, just by the way. And I say that, like they're best friends. I'm not going to give more personal details other than people say Tommy's racist. He couldn't be less racist. He's a Jew lover, frankly, and he gets flack from the far. Tommy burned a swastika flag as a symbol of his anti-fascist credentials. One of the reasons Tommy left the EDL is he thought it was being taken over with too much racial animus. I see Tommy correct people, not in a politically correct way, but just if people get rambunctious, and he's always careful about distinguishing between Islam, the doctrine, and Muslims as people. Tommy, he's not politically correct. He's not a scold. He's not a word policeman. But anyone who says Tommy has a racist bone in his body, they just don't know Tommy. That's just a fact. Let me read some super chats I see here. Craig McDonald, Tommy Robinson has been sent to the Ministry of Love and is being whitewashed by the Ministry of Truth. Sad times we live in. Well, yeah, you're quoting phrases from George Orwell's 1984. How right he is. I see another super chat from Shelley Korea for $20 Canadian. Thank you very much. I don't see a comment from you, Shelley, but if you, I'll try and find one if you have one. J.G. Stoner says, what can I do in the United States that goes beyond typing? Well, listen, I'm in a holding pattern a little bit here too, because what can I do? What can I do? Well, I know what I've done in the past. I've helped quarterback a legal response. I cannot do that because I do not have the authority to act on behalf of Tommy. If he was still working for me, I wouldn't have waited for anyone's permission because I'm the boss, but I'm not the boss anymore, am I? They're not even meeting with Tommy yet. I think it's a bank holiday in the UK, so I think they're not even meeting with him in jail till tomorrow. How frustrating is that? So as much as I want to help, I'm worried it would be seen as meddling. And it probably is a form of meddling. I want to do something. And I know I have a few tools I like using, but maybe the family doesn't want that. Maybe Tommy doesn't want that. I don't know. And so I'm not going to step in unless I'm asked to step in, right? With the crowdfunding. And I certainly don't have the authority to hire lawyers or set the legal strategy for the family. Of course not, right? There is something I can do without Tommy's permission and without the permission of his lawyer or his family. And I thought I would be in a position to make that announcement at this moment, but I think it's going to take me about an hour or two. I promise I'll put a video on it. So if you are a subscriber to our Rebel YouTube channel, you'll see a notification. I don't know if you've clicked subscribe and notify. I will have an announcement later today. I already alluded to it. I alluded to it before when I told you that we have a UK media company called Rebel News Network UK Limited, and we have a UK company, and that might give you a hint of what we're going to do later today. It's 12:43 p.m. I want to show you something that I didn't show before. It's just a document. This is the court-ordered publication ban. So this is the gag order. Hold it up on the screen. I'm going to read from this. Notice to the press, reporting restriction. This doesn't exist in the United States, really. In the Crown Court at Leeds, Regina, that's the Latin word for queen, versus Stephen Christopher Yaxley Lennon, that's Tommy Robinson's legal name. His Honor, Judge Marson, QC, made the following order under Section 4, Sub 2 of the Contempt of Court Act 1981 on the 25th of May, 2018, that's Friday. Since it appears to be necessary for avoiding a substantial risk of prejudice to the administration of justice in these proceedings, the publication of any report of these proceedings shall be postponed until after the conclusion of, and then 2 trial numbers. Those are the underlying rape trials. Hang on a second. Why is it that we can't talk about Tommy's case and just Tommy's case? If there are some reasons, Why we cannot talk about the underlying rape gang trial? There may be legitimate reasons. But what are the reasons for not talking about what happened to Tommy? Why? That matter has concluded now, has it not? The man's in prison. Tommy's name is notorious or famous, however you want to phrase it. There's no publication ban on Tommy, no reason for that. No privacy reasons. Why can we not talk about it? And why are the British people being treated like they can't handle the truth? Those are questions that I can't answer. Stitchmouth says, we are worried about free Tommy, but Tommy in his mind and soul is more free than many of us in the UK. That's a very philosophical point. I suppose it's the difference between being alive and living. I mean, you can have peace, the peace of imprisonment, right? There was peace in the Soviet Union for 7 years, but it wasn't free. Tommy lives life like a free man ought to, I think. That's that Lionheart I'm talking about. Glenn Buxton, I sent a message to the White House via whitehouse.gov/contact to have the president help Tommy. Well, I was really excited. John Cardillo of our team and Kurt Schlichter of our team were really going to work over the weekend on Twitter, and they are a couple degrees closer than me to the White House. And you saw there that Donald Trump Jr. retweeted Kurt Schlichter. So I think it is working its way towards the center. Wouldn't that be amazing if Donald Trump tweeted about this? Shelley Correa, $20 chip in. Thank you very much. This super chat business, as you can see, there are literally hundreds of comments there. There's a lot of them. There's some interesting one. Did Tommy have a defense lawyer? Yes, he was assigned a defense lawyer by the court, but Tommy is a complicated case. He's got an enormous history with the courts. He has a history with contempt of court. He has a history, I told you, from Canterbury a year ago. The lawyers that we had in Canterbury were excellent. Kovalevsky, I forget his first name, top-notch QC, very expensive. Adam King, excellent lawyer with a real focus on contempt of court. And of course, Jonathan Grimes, the criminal lawyer. I'm not going to call that a dream team because they're not like world famous like OJ's dream team, but that was a hell of a team. Yeah, he didn't have that. He didn't even have his regular lawyer, Alison Gurdon. They gave him some lawyer, some duty counsel, public defender style. Oh, what's your name? Oh, you're Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson. And what are you here for? Like it, and the trial was over in minutes. In minutes. A year ago, we were given several weeks. Tommy was out on bail. We were given weeks to prepare. Our lawyers had to prepare the case. Contempt of court is a very obscure law. It's not like assault or a traffic ticket that there's only certain basic rules and everybody knows. That's what I mean by a drumhead trial. Just wham, bam, thank you, man. That is not the justice, the legal system contemplated in the Magna Carta. Even the Star Chamber, I mentioned that earlier, Star Chamber is secret court. Even a Star Chamber had rules and actually had high rules. You had to have a lawyer in the Star Chamber, and it wasn't just some public defender, I can tell you that. All right. Let me check the time. It's 12:48. What is this? Just for those who have joined, I see we have 3,500 people watching now. Welcome. My name is Ezra Levant. I'm the president of the Rebel.media. We're based in Canada, but we have operations in other countries in the world. For about a year, Tommy Robinson was our star journalist in the United Kingdom. He left us earlier this spring to go independent. And he left with our best wishes. Tommy's quite a character, and as I joked with him last time I met him, he's not built to have a boss, so it was amicable. In fact, I was chatting with Tommy by email just a week ago. He was asking if we would participate in a festival, he called it, to welcome Donald Trump to the United Kingdom. He actually wanted to see if, I don't even think I passed this on to her yet, Katie Hopkins, who works for us, he asked me to pass on to Katie Hopkins his invitation to participate in a festival for Donald Trump. I am now deeply worried that Tommy Robinson will not be out of prison in time for Donald Trump's arrival. And I'm deeply worried that he will be in prison for 13 months. And I should tell you that when a man like Tommy Robinson goes to prison in the United Kingdom, it is akin to a death sentence because every Muslim criminal there wants to kill him. They've got nothing else to lose. They're already in prison for murder or terrorism, and they will go to heaven, and they will be a hero. Imagine being the hero of the prison, the hero of British extremist Muslims, the man who killed Tommy Robinson. And so the alternative is for him to request to be put in protective custody, aka solitary confinement. No human being can live in solitary confinement for 13 months. It will drive you mad. In fact, Tommy was telling, in one of his videos, I was watching him again, he was talking about how he's in solitary 23 and a half hours a day. Could you imagine? That's virtually sensory deprivation, 23 and a half hours a day. And he's in solitary, he was last time. He's probably in solitary in Hull prison right now, by request, or he'd be killed. All right, I think there's some more. Let me see if there's some more super chats out there. Lude X, this is for you haters here. Stay strong and fight the good fights. Jason Patrick Pritchard, please, Mr. President, help Tommy Robinson. Checkpoint Charlie, what is the judge's name? Well, we had it on the court order there. It's you can see it. Judge Marson. Let me make sure I'm reading that correct. Judge Marson of Leeds. So this was in Leeds, which is in the north of England. It's 12:50. This is a heavy show. Normally these daytime shows by me, they're light. We have silly clips, almost found videos on the internet. You know, we had a big laugh the other day about Starbucks and their bathrooms. Really funny, but it's not funny right now. Tommy's a handful, and he and I had our, challenges over the years, but he maintains them. I maintain my view that he was the most important journalistic project we've ever done at the Rebel, was supporting him. And I am proud that we were a stepping stone for him to become an independent journalist, that we pulled him. Tommy, I don't think it's a secret to say, when I contacted Tommy about a year and a bit ago, he was doing home renovations. That's how he was paying the bills. And I said, what are you making doing that? And he told me, I said, we'll pay you that not to do that. Come tell the world your story. Shortly thereafter, there was the attack on the Westminster Bridge. Tommy was on the scene within minutes, and it took off from there. And I think Tommy's really found his groove. And he likes to be independent. Look at the guy. Of course he is. He's not built to have a boss in Canada, 2,000 miles away, different time zones. And, we're corporate, so I'm always worried about the legals. I'm always... So, we said goodbye. Tommy went independent with our blessing. Didn't stop me from being a fan. And he wanted us to work with him on this Trump project. God willing, he'll get out and we'll be able to do that. But of course I care. And I'm frustrated that I can't do more, but there's no way in hell I'm going to act without an invitation from his family, his lawyer, or Tommy himself. I just don't want to meddle. But later today I will have an announcement of what we can do with our company called Rebel News Network UK Limited. A couple of quick super chats come in. Urethra Grundle, sorry to change the subject, but I feel that all people need to know about Rebel Media. Have you made your bumper stickers free with shipping yet? Need to spread the word. That's a great idea, Urethra. Thank you for that. I think we're doing a retool of our store. It's a little bit outdated, and I think we need to do that. I'm sorry we haven't made that a speedy priority, but I appreciate your reminder. Golf and guns. The spineless UK government has sentenced a political prisoner to death. Free Tommy. Yeah, tell me. Can you tell me the differences between what happened to Tommy and a political prisoner? Because I can't spot them. Golf and guns. Forza Italia, AFD, that's an alternative for Deutschland, Brexit, Freedom. Those are various parties that in the EU that are freedom-oriented. A $50 super chat. Thank you from Stephen T. Who is Tommy Robinson? We are Tommy Robinson. Well, that's the thing. I saw some spontaneous rallies in London over the weekend, and I see others being planned in other cities. I think Tommy Robinson is bigger than these censors and this judge believe. I'm just making sure that I haven't missed any of the super chats. I'm grateful for your support and your interest. Let's check the clock. It's 12:53. For those who are only joining, and I see there's 3,500 people online now, which is more than we had at the beginning. Justin, can we play the clip of the actual arrest of Tommy? Just a recap for those who weren't with us in the first 10 minutes. I'll do a super quick recap. Tommy Robinson, formerly a Rebel employee, left us to go independent a few months ago, was reporting outside the trial of an accused rape gang in the city of Leeds in the north of the UK. Tommy was standing outside the court, not on court property, Facebook live streaming. He did not say they were criminals. He called them accused criminals. He was not stepping on court property. He was on the public sidewalk. He read the names of the accused from the BBC, the UK state broadcaster. He did nothing that I can tell that was against the rules of the court. And then suddenly, after live streaming for 1 hour, this happened. Show the video.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach of the peace.
Are you arresting him?
Being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this.
Oh
You've all
my
watched
God.
this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your
Yes.
live feed?
Can you get me a solicitor?
Just turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I just have to do?
No, can you just explain it again?
Arrest on suspicion causing a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean, officer? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I've been told that the police the case,
Not at all. He's never said that.
that's the information I've
That's
got.
all
I'm
the
inciting.
information we've
I'm
got.
inciting
Are you
people.
not
I'm
Go
inciting
back through his
people.
video and
How have I
and watch
incited
it. He
people?
hasn't.
This is free speech. This is where we're at. You're not even allowed to. Look at this.
Look how many people.
Man, what you try and hide? Do you know when you do this?
These are normal working men.
More people.
The only sharp things are lighters.
Just let
him do this.
More people are going to watch this now than ever. This is ridiculous, lads. Do you feel right what you're doing here? I haven't said a word.
He doesn't.
So, in fact, someone laid their hand and assaulted me outside court.
Yeah, exactly.
Other people swore at me
threatened to behead
and threatened
me.
me about my mother, and here I am being arrested for saying nothing.
I'm threatened to behead
I've done
me.
nothing.
You've not said anything about
What are
it.
you arresting you for, Tommy?
Breach of the peace. Apparently, I'm inciting on my video. Can you please, George, get me a solicitor?
Yeah.
Because I'm on a suspended sentence, you see. So
He has actually done nothing wrong.
You can sort anything like that out.
There's a moment there when he says to the police, how do you feel about what you're doing here? That's a damn good question, isn't it? Breach of the peace. Breach of the peace. He was talking into his cell phone by himself on the street for an hour. There's no one around him. You saw there was just that one lady in the red outfit, and then there was George's cameraman. That's it. They were by themselves on the street. That's part of the problem. They were by themselves. Where was the mainstream media? Where was the BBC? Where was Channel 4? Where was Sky? Where was ITV? Where were the news on a rape trial of 29 people accused of raping again and again and again and again and again for years, girls as young as 11 years old? Where the hell was the public? There should have been a public there, and they indeed should have been disturbed, because what was going on in the court was quite disturbing. Tommy was swept up. Literally hours from that videotape, he was sent to prison for 13 months. His lawyer, his long-standing lawyer, was not even informed. He was given some duty counsel. And I'm not disparaging the duty counsel. I'm just saying that duty counsel did not know Tommy at all, did not know the case, and surely was not an expert in contempt of court law. And to add insult to injury, put the court ruling up, the court order, the judge who whisked Tommy off the streets and into prison for 13 months said, no one in the United Kingdom can report on that. Well, you know what? I live in North America, and I'm not bound by the censorship of UK laws. We have a UK company, and we will be taking a step later today. I'm not quite ready to announce it. I'm sorry. I will be ready within a couple of hours. I think it's a sad state of affairs when people in the United States or France or wherever can learn more about what is happening to a British citizen and the British rule of law than can Brits. Will you not agree with me? A couple of super chats, I'm going to read them because it's already 12:57. We're almost out of time. A legit babyface says, I honestly hope Tommy is going to be okay. Hope he gets a reduced sentence. What all y'all do if y'all get the green light to help him out, will you spend the same amount of money like you did last time? Well, I want to answer that clearly because I said this earlier, but you may have only joined it. I will not be crowdfunding for Tommy unless I'm specifically asked to do so. It is simply not my place. I wish I could. I enjoy crowdfunding. We crowdfund for a lot of projects along the way, but I'm not going to do so until the family or Tommy or his lawyer asks me to. I just don't want to meddle. It's not my place. If Tommy worked for me, believe me, we would be doing these things already. There is no crowdfund that I'm aware of that has been authorized by Tommy other than his own website, tommyrobinson.online. If that changes, I'll let you know. There is something I believe I can do that I will announce in a few hours. I'm sorry I'm not ready with that news right now, but I want to make sure I get everything right before I make a public announcement. But thank you for your support. I'm worried that even a month in prison is deadly dangerous to Tommy. Now, he can do a month in solitary. I don't think any person can do 13 months in solitary. And by God, he doesn't deserve to be in there for a day. I tell you, he has not broken any rule. Super chat by Golf and Guns. Brits are not free. They are subjects to the crown and cannot speak their mind. Well, listen, we're subjects to the crown here too. Queen Elizabeth is our queen in Canada too. But we're not as far gone yet, but we can be. And I say to my American friends, and I know there's Americans who love Tommy and Americans who discovered him in part because of his work with Rebel, and I'll always be proud of that. We have a lot of alumni at the Rebel. People keep reminding, we have great talent with us right now. In the UK, Katie Hopkins is amazing. In the US, I mentioned some of the names, John Cardillo, Kurt Schlichter, my friend Rob Shimshock in Washington with Campus Unmasked. We have so much talent. Teaming up with Tommy and setting him into the world of journalism was something I will always be proud of, and I'll always remember the cases he fought for, and I'll always remember what he taught me, that there's a great swath of the UK that Morrissey would call the forgotten people. Nobody's nothing. Nobody's nothings. Tommy, there was someone to Tommy, and he fought for them in word and in deed. And I think it's time that all of us come to the aid of our man. I wish I had a concrete step for you to do now. I'm afraid that we'll have to wait until tomorrow after the family and the lawyer meets with Tommy in prison. But I thank you for joining me today. I'm sure I'll have more to say on this tomorrow. And I will also later today announce what one small thing we are in a position to do, given that we are a media company in the UK. If I missed your super chat, forgive me. There was just so many comments today. We have over 3,000 people watching. It's the top of the hour, 1 p.m. Eastern time, so I'm done for today. I will also talk about Tommy on my 8 p.m. Eastern show. You need to be a subscriber for that, but I will go into similar detail, and I'll probably have news about what I'm doing this afternoon. If you don't want to subscribe to the show, that's fine. I will see you back here tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time. I believe that's 5 p.m. in Greenwich Mean Time, 5 p.m. in London, England. And I'll have more for you on this subject then. If I have news from the family that I'm at liberty to share, I will do so. Other than that, I will do my best to respect their privacy. Lord knows they're going through enough. That's it from the Rebel World headquarters here in Toronto, Canada. Until tonight on our subscription show and tomorrow on these Super Chats, goodbye and keep fighting for freedom.